Thank you for staying with us on the program. Let's get talking about insecurity in Nigeria and what exactly the implications are when we now, as it were, bring in the planks of 2023 and, of course, restructuring, how whether or not restructuring in itself solves any of the problems that we're dealing with. Insecurity is obviously scaling, which is sad, and then you're wondering at what point are we going to be able to nip it. These days you hear people talk more about keeping crimes low, but as it were now, the situation we are dealing with has ballooned. Whether or not we are able to deal with it is essentially part of the conversation that we're having this morning. I'm joined by my first guest. I'm expecting the second one in the middle of our conversation. Honorable Agarise Idubo, politician, public affairs commentator. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.
Glad to be here.
Yes, me too. It's a pleasure. I mean, it's been a while we talked on this program. Incidentally, the conversation for several weeks running has been about insecurity in Nigeria. There's hardly a part of the country where we have not seen reports of lives taken, property destroyed, threats to, as some people now say, to the very existence of Nigeria. And then you're wondering, at what point did we get it all wrong, that we are where we are today, and we're not having a conversation where you have ethnicity, you have religion, you have tribalism, all of these elements playing out, and yet lives are at stake?
Yeah, very honestly, if we start to chronicle how we got to where we are now, it may be a bit difficult, but now we are here. Mm-hmm. I've always asked myself, we have several security outfits, the police, the army, the air force, the navy, and we have resigned ourselves to them. One thing that is very clear, security is the business primarily of the state. Okay. Primarily. Mm. I mean, they must guarantee security of lives and properties. It suggests to me, or to many of us, that there is a systematic failure on the part of the state. Because over time, we have been, in the last 20 years, we have been talking about insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. And we have several arms of government that are supposed to protect lives and properties, and they have failed. Every part of this country now, it used to be in the north. Okay, it started from the south, when we had all these guys kidnapping people and all that. But it now took a different dimension with what we have now. This one is hydra-headed. It's not been as bad as this. Even when there was this kidnapping in the south, it was restricted to south, and it was just there. But now this one is a national. We have killer headsmen. We have the Boko Haram. We have persons who just overrun everybody on the highway. So for me, one starts to ask the very basic question: where does our security operatives stand in this whole matter? I've always asked myself, talk about Sambisa Forest, when they kidnapped about 300 students or whatever, and took
the
Chibok girls, and they said they went to Sambisa Forest. A friend of mine jokingly asked me, is Sambisa Forest in Nigeria? If it's in Nigeria, why can't, in 4 years, why can't the security be overrun the place? If it's in Nigeria, the forest is in Nigeria, we have the defense people, they're all there. So why can't they overrun the forest? Every day you hear Sambisa Forest, it's still on. Can't there be an aerial view? I mean, you have taken aerial view of many places before. So can't there be an aerial view of Sambisa Forest to situate where these people are? If there cannot be an aerial view, can't we overrun the place? Where you have people now, it has been constantly said that Sambisa Forest, and every day we talk about it. So I believe it's like saying you have some kidnappers in a particular environment. They are so well armed, and you know where they are, and you say because they are very well armed, and you keep fighting every day, and you cannot even capture that environment.
I want to bring in an element here, the Sheikh Gumi factor.
Yes.
There are people who say, well, he's doing a great job. In fact, some persons have said off the records that he's doing what government had failed to do long before today. That's on the one hand. Then, conversely, you have those who are saying, hold on a second. this one needs to be, I mean, invited by the DSS, because how do you get access to these bandits, for example, to the very leadership, as it were, of these bandits, and then security agencies are unable to get through to them? Is that something you know that the state probably doesn't? How do we make sense of all of this?
Information gathering. You know, there is this aspect of security which I think has been missing all this while. We don't even gather information, or they don't even know how to gather information, or if they gather information, they can't even process the information. Because the one you call Gumi or whatever they call him, of course, if he has opted to come and say, okay, fine, I'll talk on your behalf. And he has now, so to speak, got into the nitty-gritty, got into the people where they are. Why wouldn't our own security operatives have done that?
They say, some people say it would be a bad idea to engage these bandits in a gun fight.
It's not, look, listen, everything is fair in a war. It's not a question of, I mean, they have constituted to a large extent a nuisance to our community. If you engage them in whatever form to send them out of the environment, for me it's fine. Because every day you keep talking about, oh, let's not, it's a war situation. How can you just find a situation whereby students are in school, you just go and take 200 of them, and you think that it's not bad enough to fight them dirty? You should fight them dirty. If they have chosen, I mean, only a few days ago they killed about a few persons in Borno, in Maiduguri. Now they have come to the city center. They used to go to suburbs, now they're in the city center.
Yeah. And so, we hear death toll has hit about 16 from that incident.
So they have come to the city center. So how do you now think that it is unwise to fight? You can fight them with everything. And I keep wondering, these persons, they say they have sophisticated weapons. Yes, fine. Can't we match them? Assuming another country decides to fight Nigeria, for instance, then we now say because that country has a more sophisticated set of weapons, then we cannot fight back. For God's sake, our military should wake up. There is no, I may be wrong. I'm not a security operative, I'm not a security expert, but I mean, I think I could be wrong if I say that it is out of place that in 10 years, we have not been able to conquer Boko Haram in 10 years. And we keep expressing ourselves in various forms that, oh, Boko Haram is here, they have hit one environment, they have done this X, Y, Z, and we have, I feel so pained because if we have, let me not use the word proper now, if we have security men who are well trained, they should be able to, part of security is gathering of information. Right. These guys, you can smoke them out of their existence. If they are in Sambisa forest, smoke them out of there. It's not a question of saying that they have equipment that we don't have. Even if they are supported by any other country, even if they are supported by the greatest of countries, we should be able to fight back in a manner that they themselves, they just come to, they come to a city and just capture everybody. And you just hear, oh, they came here and they have gone.
There are those who are now arguing, saying, look, security is on the exclusive list.
Yes.
And that makes it more difficult to deal with the issue of crime, because crime, we are told, is local. They say every crime is local. So because you have made it exclusive, as it were, it, for want of better words, leaves the governors with their hands tied, leaves them helpless, for example. Is that argument valid? It is
valid because, and that's why they are also asking for restructuring, take off some and give us some powers to deal locally. I mean, security should be a local matter.
Right.
It should be a bottom-top thing, not a top-bottom thing. It's a local matter. Every criminal lives in an environment. And if you give the local people the power, the local government, the state government power to do some few things, it could yield a better result. Because see, now these governors have kept on saying they are not responsible to us. The police, the army, the whatever, we don't have authority over them. We can't even give them instructions. If you give them instructions now, and there's a counter on from Abuja, it's superior to your instructions. So very honestly, until they can on their own coordinate security, it might still not be too right, because all these happenings are in our local environments. And if you engage the local people into your security network, right, it could make some difference. So I want to believe that if you take it out of there, or severe it, not just take part of it and give power to the local government and the state government that could make a lot of difference, because
Right.
this Borodu one you're talking about now, I mean, the governor on more than 2 or 3 occasions has been threatened.
Right.
But he could, he didn't have too much power to call the military. Even though he complained, he protested, but he could not give instructions to the officers who are supposed to do something. Even his own police officers still take instructions from the center, which again, I mean, you are trying to secure me, and I cannot give you instructions.
Right.
And what kind of security is that?
Let me draw your attention to something very important, and in fact critical, given the conversation we're having right now. I mean, you're having a one-off, or what they call off-grid election, say like we had a Edo State election, governorship election last year. And then you hear that 37,000 policemen have been deployed to the state for the purpose of that election. And then we have a situation like we have now. I mean, as it were, insecurity on a scale that is national. And then you're wondering, how many policemen are we deploying, for example? How many soldiers are we deploying, for instance? What does that say about our priorities? I mean,
Deploying to where?
to deal with insecurity. I mean, we have hotspots in this country real time, don't we?
With the 37,000 or 36,000 policemen deployed to states, we still had flashes. We still had areas where some things still happened, which was supposed to be nipped on the bud.
Right.
So what is this 37,000 policemen deployed to anywhere? You see, 37 policemen, they just stand and look at you. They are not. They didn't really provide security. They were just. They were not armed. They were just standing there, and they could be compromised. I mean, they were just standing there like every other person. They were not threatening enough to say, okay, this policeman is here for that reason I'm threatened. No, you can just go and talk to the policeman and just chat with him. The man, you can even slap him. The man has no weapon. Even though they said to us that they had backup somewhere, you will have beaten the man to stupor and taken the ballot boxes away if you wanted to do that. So for me, the 1 million policemen or whatever you transfer to places did not really make any difference. I think God just took over many of these operations, not because the policemen were there. The policemen were there it's like having a dog that is toothless. The dog cannot bite you, and you know the dog hasn't got teeth. You say you dare the dog, but if you know the dog has teeth,
Right.
then you be afraid. But this one's policemen were just there. Even if you post 20 policemen to a police center, they're just there. They're just there. They did not really have the kind of thing to frighten you. No, they were just there like every other person. They didn't carry arms. They just were strolling around the whole place. So they did not really create the kind of. If you see a policeman in some places for security reasons, you see the man, you know this man is combat ready.
Yes.
And see him alone frightens you. I mean, seeing the man stand alone.
The aura he carries, the presence.
You see a policeman in some crimes, that you see the policeman at all. That is, when you see him, you check yourself. But this one is like the cat and the rat they are playing.
I have a couple of more questions to ask you, but in the meantime, we have a second guest joining us on the program, so we're taking a break and we'll bring him on in a moment. Stay with me. Thank you for staying with us on the program. A second guest has just joined in, Solomon Idibwe, Public Affairs Commentator. Thank you for coming on the program. Yes, I'm going to talk to you in a bit, but I was just having some talk with Agarise Dubo just a while back. I was going to ask you something about how that there's the belief in some quarters that politicians have hijacked this process for selfish personal reasons, and then there's a way they link.
Which process?
Well, the issue about insecurity generally is either they are bringing politics in or they are leveraging ethnic sentiments when they have that conversation. So there's that division of the North and the South dichotomy, as it were. But ultimately, some persons now say there's a link between all of these insecurity madness that we're saying and 2023. Is there a way you can help us make sense of that at all?
2023 has created so much wahala everywhere, whether security, wahala, or whatever. But in all of this, I still want to believe that security operators, not the operatives now, they get to understand this issue of security. I don't know if they do or they just choose not to implement what they should, implement. Every aspect of our being, we have shown no capacity 2023 will come and just go. Yes, people are talking about, okay, fine, we want security, we want our people to be in particular places of power because of 2023. That again is because of poor leadership. If everybody gets everything anybody wants, nobody cares. It's like you are GM of this establishment. If you are doing well, nobody cares whether your tenure has lapsed or not. People will not even bother to even know whether you are. People will be even wondering, the match should just continue. But people start to get agitated. If you're not doing well, they pray that your tenure should lapse quickly so you can go. So whether security or insecurity, 2023 must come and go. But people are still believing that. Like the new service chiefs now.
Right.
Some are saying, okay, it's tilted towards one environment. But what I've said, there's a Yoruba man there. There's a Delta man there. They now came that okay, these people are Muslims. Ethno-religious things should not define us.
Right.
If things are working well, people start to think like that. Ethnicity, religion. If everybody's working well, nobody cares whether you're a Christian or a Muslim. It's just because at a point you do things that people don't believe that you are tilted towards an area. But if you are straight and you do the things the way they should be done, nobody cares whether you're a Muslim or Christian. But in this country, people get agitated because, oh, fine, oh, it's favoring this aspect of the country. But otherwise, if everybody is just walking straight and doing the thing the way it should be done, nobody will care. In civilized countries, people don't even know who their local government chairmen are. They don't even know. Some I've not even seen them before. They don't even know that I say it's local government chairman because everything works. You don't want to find out. It's when things are not working, you now want to ask questions. Who is this person? Otherwise, if things are working well, you just continue with your life. You don't even want to know who Agarese is or who you are or who my brother is. Nobody cares. But if they're not working well, start to make inquiries. Why are they not working well? Okay, this part of government is favoring this part of government. That's why it's not working well. Now we must put our own person there so they can protect our own interest. If interest is protected all through, right, you will not be asking me to go and protect your own interest. If it is clear to us that anybody who is there will do this right, they will not be talking about, oh, our turn is our turn. It's your turn to do what? It's your turn to grab. It's your turn to now empower your own people. If things are done well, the issues, okay, this is due, this person, give it to him. This person, give it to him. Nobody will care about who is doing what. So this might take on that.
Let me turn to Solomon now. By the way, Agarese Dubo has made your job a bit easier when he talked about the service chiefs, because that's where exactly I was heading a while ago. All right, now we have a new set of service chiefs in place. And then some persons say, well, there's going to be a shift in our approach to fighting insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and all forms of crime in this country. Do you see that happening going forward?
I don't see it happening. Sorry, it's not a pessimistic view as many would not think. But that is the reality in Nigeria. Whether you call it service tips, or you call it service chiefs, or you call it it's a decayed system. We have had institutional failure. The system is decayed. While we're growing, I mentioned it behind the camera just now, that while we're growing, we heard the word moral decadence. We thought we had seen it all. But now we are seeing the reality that when we're talking about moral decadence, we hadn't seen anything. Now we are talking about structural, institutional decadence. A situation where those criminals then that were young have now grown up to be adults. And those who were adult criminals are now the ones heading the younger ones as they were. That's the situation we are in. Now, how can you relate? For instance, a Senate who took resolution 3 times at least, I remember, at least 3 times to say the service chiefs as they were not working. That the president should relieve them of their duties and bring in fresh person.
Of course, he has long done that.
I'm saying, how would you imagine such a Senate sitting down again to screen them and certify them for ambassadorial job? You said they were not doing well internally. You are giving them now as our mouthpiece those you have classified failed. Because for you to ask the president to remove them, you are saying, in fact, it was not even hidden. You said they have failed us, that they were not working. And now you are taking them as ambassadors, you know, to be our mouthpiece and our representative with what you already classified as either corrupt or inactive. So I'm just saying that what we have succeeded in doing over time is having progressive retrogression, making 4 steps ahead and 10 steps backward. Now, come to think about it. Where are we? When I see the word restructuring, I see the word 2020, they are just divisive myths. Now, okay, I'll just give you an instance. Only yesterday, I ran into, you know, a friend called me, and I got to know that there was police road checkpoints, you know, along the Yaro. My brother, when I drove there, when I saw what they were doing, I couldn't take it. Police were already extorting. I'm saying it categorically. Already by Yaro, by that moat, before Waterboard, if you are coming from Downsing, they were already extorting motorists, 5,000, 10,000. They stop flashing cars. If they're not asking you for tick permit, they're asking you for your fire extinguisher. I mean, doing the work supposedly for federal safety. So, point I'm making is that the same thing dragged us to the EndSARS saga that is still not totally quenched. And if you like, still grooming somewhere. We are hearing second waves, third waves. People have still not learned lessons. Federal government is spending money funding and state government funding panels to looking at solutions. What do you call that? Institutional failures. The same panel that was set up by Mr. President, for instance. Police department went to court trying to stop them. The IGP said, I didn't send anybody. Today, nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody has been brought to book. Now, that same panel, the Nigerian army withdrew her men across the nation over this disagreement. Don't forget, the man who set up the panel is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And the armed forces, who was alleged to have committed heinous crime by killing civilians. Remember I said alleged, because we saw some though, but have withdrawn and withdraw their men cutting across the 36 states. Where are we? Nobody has been brought to book. While they were still doing that, we have asked that the SEC should go and open toll gates. So where are we? We're moving 2 steps now. We got back. The same army that could flush up what's it called, Southeast Security Network.
Okay. The IPOB.
Not the IPOB.
Okay. The Eastern Security Network. The ESN. Yeah.
From the forest could not flush out bandits from Iriri or from Oluku. I'm not talking of even Zamfara or Sokoto or Bonu. But you could flush out ESN. What are you narrowing it to? The same people who could not do much are fighting Amoteko in the southwest. You are gradually turning insurgency issue to ethnic issues. And like my leader here said just now, that it's become like an ethno-political issue. It's just a way of diverting the attention of the Nigerian people. For instance, rather than focusing on the issue that the EndSARS brought. For instance, let me tell you, EndSARS was not exactly about the common policeman, though they had issues, like I had mentioned.
On the streets.
On the street. But the EndSARS issue is about the insecurity, about the systemic failure in Nigeria, about the indiscipline of people in government, about the looting, about the actions of the legislators, the executives, and the judiciary in this country. Because they have failed us.
I guess you meant to say the legislators.
Yes, the legislators.
They are called the legislators. They were elected to legislate.
Okay. Now, how much have they legislated? Rather than legislate, we are registering and re-registering people into political parties. Is 2023 the issues in Nigeria today? Today, the South and the North are doing marriage of convenience. If the vigor, the ruling party at the federal, for instance, or the government at the federal had used, in advertising their party for people to register
to validate their membership.
They put it into insurgents, not this cosmetic fight. Would have had it.
Are you saying the priorities are twisted?
Categorically, twisted priority. Now, isn't it funny, When you hear, just go to Google and ask for the country called zoo. Nigeria. How can you not say Nigeria is a zoo?
But Google cannot. Google, we don't know what metrics Google used in arriving
well,
at
I
that.
don't know.
In any case, those items you find, there are people's opinions that can be informed by sentiments and whatever other biases.
I'm just quoting a source because if you do that now, you find out.
And then we can also question the validity of that source.
You can do that.
Yes.
I'm basing mine on this now. Now, why can't they call us a zoo when snake can swallow money, rats can sack leadership from office? I don't know if you get me. Isn't it in animal farms? They said all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Hasn't it shown itself here where cattle rearers called headers take their cattle to your farm, or when I say Dubois farm, whose farm is not movable? His farm is static. He plants his yam and cassava. He's there. He nurtures it, spends money and time. And then I'm a cattle rearer. I come to his farm. I ravage his farmland. And now, why he's quarreling that I brought my cattle? I'm a farmer. He's a farmer. I brought my farm into his farm, consumed his farm. And now he's having quarrels with me. Government is saying headers, farmers clash. And that the headers should be compensated because they are nomadic farmers. And now they are placing premium or value, if you like, on the cattle, much more than the lives of the man whose farm and property have been destroyed. I just saw my governor publish that night grazing has been banned
between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Yes.
Has he lifted the former ban he placed? Mr. Governor placed a ban some time ago. Oh, did he lift it? He never lifted it. So why recounting it? And you have called for a ban of cattle. You didn't put phone numbers. Is it me that now arrest them? The same committee you set up in local government before, that local government chairman and security heads are members of the committee in each of the local government.
Right.
What have they come out with since the last time you did that? Now you are saying it again. Was ban bikes? Were bikes not banned in already Kubaha before? Why restating it? What did you need to do? Strengthen the mechanism. So what am I saying in effect? We are just doing cosmetic touch. We are doing politics. Playing politics with the lives of our people. Both at the federal, we have a faith system, both at the state level and at the local government level.
I'm going to let you catch your breath quickly because you have earned that. I said, well, let's talk about cattle now because we can pretend all we want. However, in the final analysis, cattle are right in the middle of this conversation. Just yesterday, and 2 days ago, for example, a private vehicle ran into a cow on Benin Ubo Road, Benin Lagos Expressway, as we call it. And we've seen several similar incidents across this country in recent years. Let's first of all be clear that cattle rearing is a business, whether we like it or not. It's a business. And then you have individuals who have invested a chunk of their wealth in this business. Some persons are now saying that has in itself created a problem because you have these individuals who, as it were, who have interest in this cattle business. So they are not able to speak up about it. They are not able to make the necessary moves about it because it will hurt their business interests. But there's something called national interest. How are we dealing with that?
National interest. This issue of cattle, as a small boy, I've always seen Fulanis move around with their cattle, with a commanding stick. And we used to wonder as children that it is juju. Because they will hold that stick, and the man will just do like this, the cattle will understand.
Yeah.
And they will move to the direction the man is wanting them to move to. I agree, you say some people have, it's business. But you can't use, according to one of my friends, you can't use your own reggae to play my own blues.
Okay.
It's business, fine. Nobody's contesting that. If you use your own business to destroy my own business, there's something wrong with that. Do your business. If you want to push your, he just mentioned now, if you go into somebody's farmland, the man has planted cassava over time, your cattle will just go there and mess up the environment, eat up the entire, and you think the man should not be angry? It's not possible. I think where we are getting all of this wrong, I'm not a I'm not a person who wants to encourage violence, but it has reached a level where the young persons in those environments should rise up and say, come on, enough of this rubbish. You can't come and drive away, sack a community because you have cattle. You bring your cattle, you domicile your cattle in somebody else's, environment, and you think the man should not complain. If the man complains, you want to kill him. And they have come up with systems where they even carry equipment that cannot even be described. I mean, at what point did they start to learn how to use AK-47? Who gave them? But again, some persons say, okay, fine, this AK-47 were not given to them by whoever. The owners of the cattle gave them this AK-47. And they have also mentioned that some individuals in some local environments also own these cows.
Right.
But having said all of this, to the Fulani man, a cow is more important than a child. To the Fulani man. You can even kill his child, but don't kill his cow. I don't know why. They have said that over time. That to them, if you observe, there was one day they were moving along the Kaduna something road, and one car ran into the cows and killed one. Killed one of those cows. If you see the venom, the way they reacted to it, as if the cow has killed a son of a Fulani man. But they have always said this cow is more important to them than anything. I don't know why. But I haven't said all of this. Your cow is important to you. My farm is important to me. You cannot say your cow is more important than your cow should come and mess up my own farm. My farm also is important to me. And all of these things have created economic crisis.
Right.
So much so that people no more go to farms. They fear. They fear. One day in my house, I was not at home. In my house, in front of my house, I mean, you know my house, you do, but I have some flowers. I have some few things, And each of those things at the time cost me about 10,000 naira to put there. One day, my wife just called me and said, darling, Fulani, not Fulani, I said cows have eaten up. I said, what did you do? He said, what did I do? What did I do? No, he said, what did I do? I said, I just had to leave them and I ran away. I said, okay, fine. One day, and I said, they'll come again. So one day I was at home and I was monitoring from my, and I saw the cows and I came out. The cows were, on my part of the man, the header was somewhere there. And I called the man. I said, come on, my friend. This is not part of your of the things you should come and destroy. These things cost a lot of money. I mean, this flour is about, by the time I bought it was 10, it should be about 11, 12,000 now. Don't destroy these things. The man didn't talk to me.
Okay.
He didn't say anything. He just was looking at me. So I said, come and take away your cows from here. So he saw that I was getting agitated. He now came. So my wife was screaming, leave him, oh, leave him. Oh. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we have come to get. They have instilled into everybody a situation where nobody can even say anything. I was watching a video where these Fulani herdsmen with their cattle, they went to a community, they drove away everybody.
But sorry, I was just going to say something. Isn't that what breeds the ethnic issues that were dealing? I mean, these are ethnic issues. One will keep saying Fulani herdsmen. Have we not seen herdsmen who are not Fulani, for example?
I don't know.
Of course, we can say, well,
yes,
that space is populated
yes,
by the Fulanis, which has always been a business for them for
yes,
centuries.
No, the
but we have seen non-Fulani herders as well.
No, I don't know, but if they are, even if
98.5% are from that tribe.
Even if they are, but it is ascribed to them.
Okay.
That cattle rearing is by Fulani people.
It's just like
my interest in this part of the conversation is that you talked about how that when you were a small boy in this same town growing up, for example, you would see the same herders do their business, mind their business without hurting anybody or their interest. Of course, that has changed for the worse now, which means there's now, as it were, an infiltration of criminal elements within that chain. I mean, that's obvious.
No, it's possible. It's possible.
Yes,
it's like the NSAS team, for instance. Like the NSAS team.
That was hijacked.
The young persons were fighting a cause.
Yes.
And some persons came to take advantage.
No, without violence.
Yes, but let me tell you one thing on that, now that he's here. I have had cause to speak on that. It was also a leadership failure on the part of the youth of Nigeria. Leadership failure. If you are leading a fight you had a focus. Then Agarese comes to infiltrate and divert your focus. You should shout. You should shout. That this is not our focus. So Agarese, push Agarese out of it. Fight Agarese. But if you allow Agarese to infiltrate and blend,
right,
and blend with your cause, if the youth of this country stood up and said, come on, yes, we had this focus. These people who are going to join the other part, we want to fight them out. Fight them out. Yes, it could be difficult. I'm coming. You just make your point. Let the whole world know that these people are not your people, and they have come to hijack a process that you have planned to be peaceful. Then let the whole put. But when so to speak, they came into the system and they fused in.
So they were loose ends. That's the point.
And they blended.
Who were the day, if I may ask? There were no day. My leader here, because with all due respect, today I would ascribe my growth, whether in youth leadership, in whatever spheres, and salutes my leader here because he grooms me even as a child. So I have all reasons to respect him. A lot of people used to call me first son of Isedubo. I'm sure that has not changed anyway. But this is a fact. No youth allowed it to be infiltrated. For instance, those at the Lekki toll gate, did they leave the Lekki toll gate? No, they didn't. They brought war to them. Those who were in Benin were at main gates and Ring Road. Did they leave? They brought fights to them. Now, this is it. I was on this set some time ago. Somebody called in and said they are last Showore. When Showore came into the EndSARS protest, it was clear. Go back to your clips. The people asked him to go away so that you don't take it to be revolution now protest, because this one was a different tag. Showore never led EndSARS. And people now started claiming, oh, why is it that the EndSARS protest didn't have leadership? It was strategic. We agreed that there should be no leadership called leadership of the EndSARS. Why? I'll tell you this. When Two-Face in India wanted to do protests in Nigeria, what happened? Our government forced him to make a declaration a day or two before.
But we don't have that evidence, because Two-Face himself never came up to say it was government.
But of course you and I know. Sure, it's not.
I don't.
No,
at least I didn't hear from the horse's mouth.
We have been in the struggle, be on the streets, agitating. Funny enough, the president sitting today protested during Goodluck Jonathan's era over issues he felt was not comfortable. But today, when you protest, let me tell you, the second hashtag Lekki toll gate about 2 weeks ago, was it supposed to be violent? Was it not a peaceful one? But what happened? I saw all the security agencies that we have not seen in Sambisa Forest or in Borno or in Niger State at Lekki toll gate. So, did you also go and check the clip? Who brought the talks? Did you see security agencies' vehicles? Did you see politicians' tinted vehicles and jeep bringing talks? So we knew all that happened. The same people who climbed to the top using protests and agitations have decided to murder protests and agitations because they feel they are not comfortable. Let me tell you, this is where we are. It's like a nation. Do you know, if I ask sincerely my daddy here, Honorable Isedubo, 1964 to 1970 and 2012 till 2021, which era would you say you enjoyed most? I'm sure you go back to 1960, between 68 and 75, for instance, because things were better. Then you have a cover, it had value. But today, the 10,000 naira you own today is an equivalent of even 1 kobo.
I want to drag you into something else, which is...
Sorry,
yes.
Maybe I was not completing when I was talking. I said the EndSARS thing was a focused fight.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
That got infiltrated
It's infiltration
by a pack of people with an ulterior motive.
Young persons
we could not have.
Young persons who took over and unleashed
Who
mayhem.
you today? Let me tell you, I knew why you were quickly saying Fulani, because if you are not careful, you'll be slammed with charges that you have allowed ethnic sentiment to be groomed here. Today, our media houses have been straight-jacketed. In fact, have been gagged. didn't own the media space. The government owned the media space. The social media, which was a means of communication, they came out with the hate speech issues and so many other social media correction, whatever, and today it's an issue.
Let's talk about restructuring quickly.
So
just
at that point,
just for time
those
factor,
who were beating the youth were the same ones crying foul.
Let's talk about restructuring, for example. I think there's the issue of concept with restructuring. There's also the misconception about it. We probably can't put the finger on what exactly is responsible for that. Maybe on the one hand, some people say is the approach of politicians to it. Others say, well, maybe it's because of the uniqueness of our political and social space. Ideally, what should restructuring be like for a country like Nigeria, given where we are today?
Restructuring?
Yes.
Where we are today, we need to restructure. Because for me, if you ask me, restructuring as we're here today is a political statement, and it's not intended to succeed. It's a way of diverting attention. But if restructuring is to be real, it's about true federalism. It's about going back to the various regions. You understand? And making things right. Then it's a welcome development. If restructuring is about going back to the only well-legislated region, the Midwest region, then the Eastern region, and the Western region as it were, then there's a welcome development. But if restructuring is having the former Imo State governor, the present Imo State governor fighting, the Uzodinma and the Rocha Sokorocha, and the Abia State governor and the Ebonyi State governor, you know, one man decamping from one party to another, now believing that he wants to be president in 2023. That's what restructuring is about. It's a failure. Let me tell you, how did we get to where we are? And what are we looking about in restructuring? It's about deceit. Government had over time been able to divide us, put a knife on that cord that had hitherto existed, if you like, or even before now existed, and cut it apart. Now, it's like the center can no longer hold. Let me tell you why I said so. Why did the zones not support the Igbos when they were crying for their Biafra nation, as it were? Because the zones believed that Ojukwu betrayed Adakaboro when he was agitating for his region or his people. The government in the center, at the center, then could not send all the northern leaders or northern military to come. They couldn't. But it was his brother from the southeast that did that. Now, what created the problem in the south? Let me tell you how we started having kidnapping in a quick summary. South, they came and gave us South. We didn't ask for. You created Delta State, for instance. You and I know that the most populous area in Delta State was either Sapele or Warri. You took their headquarters and you kept in Asaba. And now you are creating power tussle between the ethnic minority and the ethnic majority. And now, while they were busy fighting themselves, as encouraged by the government, they brought in their collaborators to scoop their fuel, littering their lands, and then desiccating in there. Their waters were being spoiled over oil spillage. They were scooping their fuel. And in the end, when they could no longer hold, the likes of Ken Saro-Wiwa came peacefully. They encouraged their elders. They saw Ken Saro-Wiwa up. He was more than at the dying news. The man said, I came in peace. But a time will come when people shall ask with blood. Did it not happen? They started kidnapping their leaders when they realized that the leaders, the ethnic leaders, were the ones selling them out over money. You understand? And when the leaders saw that they could no longer take it, they started running, and then they started kidnapping the whites. It snowballed from that region into others. And now, how about these insurgents? It started from Borno, northeast, we said, and then they were bombing, kidnapping. What their slogan there was, Western education is
it's a haram. Haram means not allowed.
Western education is not allowed. But did you know it crept from the northeast to north central? We saw it in Nasarawa, later in Abuja. Today it's in Obiaruku, it's in Oluku, it's in Agenebode. I don't know if you understand. So what has happened? Government have not had sincerity of purpose. They have only had to deceive our people. Let me tell you, I was in Brass State Summit in Asaba before late Azazi died. He was then still Chief Security Advisor. He mentioned that the problem called Boko Haram was an agreement made by the federal government that was not upheld, and people are revolting until they go back. He has told the president, but he has not done anything. When the man said it, I said, this man will not last long. He didn't do a month, then he was sacked. About 2-3 months later, where some said he died on press cars. Other theory says he was murdered. But whichever one, he died. Himself and Yakowa, who had told his people in Kaduna, the only Christian governor they had had, that if they don't stop Boko Haram, he will mention names. How come that Azazi, who was supposed to airborne with one of our foremost leaders, now got airborne with Yakowa? These are conspiracies. Now, in the end, where are we? We are back to where we are. Only this morning, I was hearing, maybe on your radio or a sister radio, that a northern elder had said that until the issue with the insurgents are resolved, that the insurgents are asking, I think from Gumi or so, that the insurgent bandits are saying that the president should come and meet with them, that they gave them promises and they did not fulfill. Until those promises are fulfilled, they will not go back. It does not go back to what Azazi said. So what are we doing? We are moving 2 steps forward and 10 steps backward. We are only playing games. In the end, rather than face NSAS issue, we came with the issue of services removed, clear them. Now Nigerians are pumping interest.
So are we going to be better off if we restructured?
It will be better if the restructuring is sincere.
Okay.
If restructuring is about telling truth to ourselves, it's about true federalism, it's about asking the regions to take over their resources, manage it, and pay honorarium to the center. It's about having people giving freedom to express their wishes. It's about allowing the Southeast have their security network. It's about allowing the South have their security network, and allowing the Southwest have their security network, and maintain their region. Allow their people thrive. Allow the farmlands bring produce, and let the farming increase. Allow the people who wants to do cattle rearing, rear their cattle within a catchment area, and not infringing other man's farming. Before you know it, farming is gradually becoming unfashionable, because if your mother will need to go to the farm and you are not sure she's going to come back, or your father is going to go to the farm and you are not sure if he's coming back, you are going to ask him to leave the village and come to the town. And when everybody leaves the village, what happens? We don't have farms anymore.
From what you said about restructuring now, one thing sticks out essentially, and I want to get RSS sentiment about that. I mean, when you talk about restructuring in real time in this country, the aspect that has to do with resource control is always at the very heart of the matter. I mean, look at resource control today. Nigeria is essentially dependent on oil, take it or leave it. Today, oil is selling for $67 at the international market. That's doing well for us, I mean, at least against the backdrop of projection for the 2021 budget. But God forbid it slumps again, maybe to $20-something, for example. It hits the budget, it hits our revenue base so hard that we are not able to do certain things within this fiscal year, for example. How are we going to be able to run circles around the elements of resource control? I mean, rock the boat and still not hurt lives, for instance.
Yeah, let me start quickly by saying, as moderator of this program, let's moderate it the way.
Okay.
The moderation is not too smooth now. I'm not understanding. Restructuring as it were and as it is. What is restructuring in the first place? There are too many definitions why people want to restructure. Too many angles to restructure. So it's not a one-off word. Restructuring. What are you restructuring? It's not a one-off. It's not a one-off thing. So people have to understand what you want to restructure. What do you want to restructure? This country is such a country. I said at the beginning, it is leadership failure that's asking for all of this. You don't want to restructure. If you have a Doha and Delta that was Midwest, if they are doing well, you don't need to go back to Midwest. If you have a Nigeria where everything is working the way it should work, leadership has been our problem. What are you structuring? Okay, fine. You want the police. Some states are saying they want state police. Some say, okay, fine, restructuring is resource control. Some of those countries in the south are now beggar states. They are beggar states. They beg now.
In spite of the allocation,
yes, they beg now. Even though that's where you get all the money from. They beg. I agree with him. Let's have a strong set of states and a weak center. Now you have a strong center and states that are beggarly. The center is strong. Center doesn't produce anything. In civilized climes, people feed the center. They feed the center. But now, we produce, and the center takes over our products and give us peanuts. So I think that's an act of injustice for which they want restructuring. Look at governments, for instance. Look at governments are like appendages of state governments. So some say they want restructuring, so that local governments can be as powerful as they should be. They should be autonomous. That's the idea of restructuring. So when you talk about restructuring, now, is it a holistic thing where you want every aspect of our national life?
Do we look ready for that holistic approach?
So these are issues that we must tell ourselves. So people are talking about restructuring, and you start to wonder, what are you saying? I mean, ethno-religious crisis is there.
Restructuring.
Like, oh, I'm a Nigerian. Yes, but I'm Edoma. This is Ausama. This is, once things start taken care of. At times, when I was in the college, nobody cared whether you are from you're from Kano or from Jigawa or from Lagos. We're just students. We're happy with ourselves. We're happy with ourselves. Nobody cared where you came from. We're just ourselves. I attended my old school meeting over the weekend in Lagos, and many of our friends at that time we did not really know that this man is this or that. We just flowed together, and socio-cultural things or cultures are different. Of course, yes, it's been like that, but you harness in diversity there should be strength. But here we are looking at, oh, we are too diverse. Let us split. Why? America is one country, but the center is there, but the components
at the base.
Yes, they're strong. Every state has its own police. Every state has electoral officers. Every state has its own laws. I mean, you're wrong. But the fear we have here about state police, my own fear. INEC used to conduct elections, local government elections. Yeah. They just say, no, INEC, no, let us have state electoral commissions. And they have been hijacked. They have been hijacked. Most governors just took over the state electoral commission and just use them the way they like, to the extent that chairmen are like appointed. Now, even though they were elected, but they're like appointed because they don't even. I mean, how can a governor sack a council chairman? How can? So these are things they want to restructure, where they can have power, they can be autonomous, and a proper arm of government. The president cannot sack a governor. He cannot. But why should a state chairman, a state governor sack a local government chairman? Because of the structure.
But the president won't remove the governor in these states, and he placed an administrator in that state.
Are you elected governor?
No, it can only be state of emergency when there are issues.
That's the point we're making. There was an exemption in that case.
You need a sack.
You create it.
Yes. If you create a state of emergency.
He declared a state of emergency.
And it's not a fiat by the government. There are legislative rules too. That must
even though some persons say there's too much of political elements.
Obviously there, but here, in these cases of governor sacking local government, the governor wakes up in the morning and you see on broadcast, local government chairman of social place is hereby removed.
Agarese was making a point about state police and your fear about it. I think you want to land with that one.
So the same way they hijacked the electoral process, also hijack the police. Also hijack the police. Let's take the Imo one now, for instance, like he mentioned. If the governor had all the powers of the police, it will even though they didn't have, but he still used a little to harass. So my own take on restructuring, let us understand what we mean by restructuring, so that we can effectively go ahead. But I must say this to us: the goose that lay the thing must benefit from the products. If this states, the reason why you have insurgency everywhere, like he said, when you mobilize people, you must demobilize them. You mobilize people to do a thing.
I'm going to give this gentleman a minute just to
so you must demobilize. They have not been demobilized. That's why that's the
As of today, for example, we understand that the bandits holding the Kangara schoolboys captive are saying that if their demands are not mentally enough, they will starve the boys to death. What does that say about where we are going with schools, especially because schools now appear to be the target, especially up in the north? 1 minute, so we can wrap up quickly.
What it means is that governments, are not sincere with what they are doing. You can't imagine army chief who told us while he was in service that Boko Haram has been defeated, came back to the Senate while he was being screened, that it will take us 20 years to defeat Boko Haram.
Maybe timeline has changed. You know?
Well, because it's no longer there. So that's the insincerity for government, for us to get it right. Because they are putting real the fact that when they said Western education is forbidden, now they are attacking schools. They are still targeting the Western education. So government must be responsive and must be responsible, must be sincere. Government should not leave gap between promises and performance. If there are no gaps between promises and performance, then we won't have this problem.
Thank you. I think that's a beautiful place to leave it with this discussion. Agarese Idubo, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. At least you were not held up by the traffic on the board, right? And then also want to thank you, Solomon Jogbe, for doing a night rider move to be on the show this morning. We don't take that for granted at all. This is what we're leaving the discussion, everyone. We're back shortly to have just one more, very brief one, and then we'll put a cap on it on the program. Stay with me.